Well, here we are live at Carparelli's Sound Lounge with Mr. Dick Wagner. It's truly a pleasure.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Had a great day.
Thank you very much. It was an honor to listen to you, and it was very cool to hear songs that we've all grown up enjoying, played by the man himself. So it lends an excellent air of authenticity.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I appreciate everyone who has ever been involved in my music or have listened to my music or purchased my music. I love my fans, and I'm very happy to be here. I've had a couple of great days leading up to this afternoon at Carparelli's. I did the South Canada Blues Society inducted me into their Hall of Fame.
And congratulations on that as well.
Thank you on that. But we had a couple of great gigs, one in Chatham and then last night here in Windsor.
At the Oasis, right?
At the Oasis. Was completely sold out. People were into it. They were with me. I really felt that connection, and it was a great show.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
and
it was great.
I have to say, Steve and I were talking about this earlier. That you're a very congenial gentleman. You're down to earth. You're willing to talk to people, and I think that's the reason why people like you are able to make a lifelong career out of what you do.
Well, the truth is that we are all more similar than we are different. So we all have that commonality, that humanity, and so I enjoy meeting people and talking to them and getting their stories or listening to what they have to say about my music or whatever it may be. So, I enjoy people. So
excellent, and it shows, and you're most kind, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now, speaking of listening to your music, who influenced you when you were just getting going, when you decided that this is what you wanted to do with your life?
Well, I was 16 years old, and I decided that I wanted to be a guitar player. I was just loved guitar music. So I listened to B.B. King. I listened to Chet Atkins. I listened to Wes Montgomery. I listened to Duane Eddy, Link Ray, Wild Bill Emerson. All these guitar players, formative guitar players.
Right.
And tried my best to copy what I could, to learn what I could, and just absorb the feeling of, like, Wes Montgomery was way beyond anything I could play, but I could hear it.
Yeah.
I could hear it, and for some unknown reason, understand it. And
yeah. And did it help? Was that a little bit of a challenge, helpful instead of a hindrance to you?
Tremendous challenge, helpful.
Good.
Not a hindrance ever. You go in, you practice, you do your very best, you learn, and eventually you develop your own style.
Right.
And then when you're playing, people recognize you.
Right.
It takes years, and it takes a lot of focus and a lot of effort. And when I was young, I practiced 10 hours a day. I just never was without my guitar.
Yeah.
And learned a lot of things and really developed. Became a professional guitar player like in 2 years, and I was out playing in bands and stuff when I would have been playing a couple of years.
Right.
And I just got really good really fast and got better and better and better, and then evolved into situations. People would want me to play with them.
Right.
And maybe part of that congeniality thing you talked about is that I found that when you're nice to people, they're usually nice to you.
Yeah, well, what goes around comes around, right?
Yeah. And so if you want to play in a band, you make friends with the guys in the band. They like you. Maybe you get a shot at it.
Mm-hmm.
And ever so often I'd get a shot at it, and they were always an elevation of my career. They're always moving up. And so over the years, I finally ended up like with Alice Cooper at his peak.
Right.
And that was a great trip. But I just really devoted myself to it. I got to say that. And I think anybody who wants to be a professional and really be great at it has got to do the same thing.
I agree 100%. Absolutely.
You have to devote yourself to it. You can't be a part-time. If you're part-time, you're just part-time.
Gotcha.
And you'll always be part-time.
Now, when you look back, when you were 16 and you were listening to these guitar players, and you were imagining yourself, joining this profession. A lot of people will say, oh, well, I knew right away that this is what I was going to do and that I was going to take me. Do you imagine now, or could you imagine then where it took you now? Or does it kind of still blow you away?
Not at all. I mean, there's so many little turns in the road as you go. And if you make good use of the changes and always be moving up and forward, things will happen that you're not expecting. Opportunities will come along. It's a very tough business, the music business.
Yeah, for sure.
And you've got to be willing to sacrifice a lot. I mean, I sacrificed families, and I didn't really have a lot of time with my children because I was a road musician and a session player, and there wasn't enough time. I spent most of my time as a musician.
Right.
And I regret that to a certain degree, but at the same time, my children are all musicians too.
Right.
And they know what I went through, and they know what they're going through, the same kind of thing. So
it's kind of like, when you hear stories about sailors, right? The people that were sailors and devote their lives to the sea because it's what they love.
Right.
And they can't imagine living without that.
Right.
I think it might be something similar.
It's very similar to that. Your music becomes your life, and the act of playing music becomes your life. Recording, however you're doing it, it becomes your life, and it's very, very difficult. You have to be with family, people who can recognize that and support you,
and cut you some slack every now and then.
Exactly, every now and then you have to have the slack cut.
Yes,
without a doubt. So, it is a tough life. I've got to say that. But when you hit your peaks, when you're on stage, and the balance is just right, and you're playing, and you play something magical, and it is, you feel like that it is, and the audience responds. There's nothing like that. I mean, that's.
And I think you could find the same thing, about an actor, or a successful actor, stage actor, speaking about their craft as well. That there's a certain, it's almost like a drug, isn't it?
It is. Well, but you're creating something in the moment. That's the whole thing. It's something brand new. It's never been played before. It's never been done before. There's something great about that. It's very fulfilling.
Yeah. And it's almost like you're giving a piece of yourself away as well. And when the acceptance for that comes back, it's very rewarding.
Oh yeah.
And could be potentially very damaging too if it's not appreciated, right?
Well, if they don't like you, after a few times of them not liking you, you probably should be doing something else.
True, yeah.
But, if they're liking you every time you play, I mean, wow. It's a great feeling, and you got something going.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that, that the music industry is a tough gig, and I don't think you'd have anybody that would disagree with you. But do you think, you've seen so much of the industry go by, do you think that now it's easier or more difficult?
More difficult, without a doubt. It's more difficult.
Why would you say that?
Because there's people are distracted now. It isn't just music. Like in the 1960s, it was music, The whole backdrop to your life was music. Going out to concerts and buying records, reading the liner notes, understanding who the musicians were. It isn't that way anymore with the young people. They don't care as much. They want that one song that's a hit.
Right.
And the rest of whatever you do, they could
take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. Mostly leave it. Because the whole industry is built on a single song by an artist, and that way no one has a guarantee of any longevity in a career, because they'll want one song at a time. So you got to deliver every single time.
Right.
Instead of making an album where you've got 12 chances, you have only one chance, really. It's changed.
And it's not even necessarily that, it may not be your effort that goes out there, right? Because a lot of the songs that get produced now are just churned out by these pop houses, and they just find somebody that can sell blue jeans to go and sing it for them, right?
Yeah, they get a certain sound going that people seem to latch onto, and they just supply. It's like a what do they call that?
It's like a sausage grinder or whatever, assembly line.
Assembly line, yeah, it's exactly what it is.
And really, you can make it sound whatever you want with auto-tune.
That's right. Yeah, auto tune.
You don't even have to know how to sing.
You can see that people are so used to having perfect records now.
Yeah.
That they hear a real band playing. It's never perfect. I mean, it's perfect in what the music is, but it's not perfect as far as the recording.
Yeah.
You know, because human beings are playing, and there's going to be mistakes, and tempo changes, and things are going to happen. When you're doing auto tune and all that stuff that's quantized, it's always perfect. You make a perfect record, perfect beat, perfect synchronization between the bass and the drums. If you're playing live, it feels funny to kids because they're so used to that perfection.
Yeah. You know what I liken it to is it's for me it's like listening to the Alan Parsons Project, which as a studio guy he's brilliant, right? As an engineer he's fantastic. But when you listen to his albums, they're all so perfect. They're so quantized, and so everything's in sync that there's no soul left anymore.
Right. See, that disturbs me. I like the essence of... I like the looseness a little bit. You know, it feels human. It feels
absolutely.
Like you can feel like you're in there. You can't feel that with some of these pop records. You can't feel like you're in anything.
No.
You're just listening.
Yeah.
And it's truly the imperfection that makes the soul of the music.
Yeah, it's the magic.
Yeah, you know. And if it's perfect, it's produced. It's noise.
It's fake.
Yeah, and it can be noise very easily.
Yeah,
when it's perfect like that. So I'm not into all of these hip hop kind of records only because they are that way, so perfect. I like a great band that's playing some great music, great songs, and then interpreting them in a human fashion.
Right.
I mean, that's what I like. That's my personal like.
Yeah, no, and I think we share that. Part of what I always thought was, I was very disappointed. I thought it would be so liberating when the technology reached a level where everyone could have a home studio, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is then that everybody has a home studio.
That's exactly right, because now you've got people who are not musicians using a computer to put things together perfectly.
Yeah.
To sound like music, perfect music, and they can't even play.
Right.
All they can do is edit and put things together. I mean, there's a certain art in that, but at the same time, that's totally foreign to a real musician.
Absolutely.
You know, and some of these things are hits. Well, times change, people change, the business changes. The whole world changes, so I guess you have to put up with it.
Yeah, and I mean, is it somewhat akin to back in the 60s when you had the bubblegum pop stuff come out? It
is akin to that. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And it's a monotony of heartbeat tempo.
Right.
That appeals, especially if you use a big bass frequencies.
Right.
Appeals to the inner person in the sense of rhythmically. You walk in, like I walk into a club in New York, and the huge PA system, and they're playing these dance records, and the bass is so dominant that if you walk anywhere near the speaker,
you're impacted.
It's actually hitting your heart and hitting your solar plexus, and you're overwhelmed by it. It's just too much. Physically, you can't take it. I don't know how these kids go to these places and actually come out alive.
I am 100%. Or the way that, for me, it's they're loading their cars up with these enormous subwoofers in their cars.
Oh yeah.
And as a musician myself, albeit a part-time one, but as a musician, I think you don't really know anything about music because all you're doing is overdriving these bass frequencies. You can't hear anything else.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what they want, though. They want that assault on the body, somehow, on the mind, on the ears. I mean, I don't get it, but then again, I'm 71, so who am I, right?
And if we were honest, I'm sure you've played you've turned your amp up to 11 once or twice before.
I've had it on 11. I had it actually physically soldered right there, so you couldn't move the button. It had to be on 11.
Nice.
I've played loud, but I've also tried always play with dynamics.
Yes.
So it's loud, it's not loud, it's soft, it's there's a dynamic range. And
I was listening to you play today, and the evidence of that is still there. I mean, it's what you're doing is like it's a craft. It's not just how many notes can I fit in. it's a careful selection of I think basically what you're feeling at the time, and it just translates out into your fingers.
I try to do that, and sometimes it really works well, and sometimes you don't know what you're interpreting from yourself, and you don't play as well. But I generally play pretty good, and when I write songs, I never write a bad song because I don't allow it.
Right.
I don't allow it. If there's something there that doesn't work, it's gone.
Out it goes.
Once you learn to edit yourself, playing and writing, that's when you can start to craft the right songs.
So what would you say your ratio of good to bad is? How many get thrown out, and how many
I throw no songs out.
Or how many back burners, I guess?
I mean, I always have songs in the works, okay?
Yeah.
Sometimes they get finished, and most of the time they get finished, and sometimes they don't. But it just depends on what I'm doing at the time. If I have a project that I'm working on, I don't keep songs that don't work for the project.
Gotcha.
And I try to write only things that are going to fit and work within the project. If I'm just writing for myself, I write lots of different kinds of songs. So, just recently I've written a bunch of small, kind of condensed George Strait-like songs, that are simple.
Yep.
But got a hook to them.
Yep.
And I've also written some really epic songs. I just wrote a song called Humanity, of all things. I wrote it for the Humanities Project at Arizona State University. I'm going to record it in Detroit, and then I'm taking it back to Phoenix with me, and I'm going to put the Arizona State University Orchestra and Choir on the record.
Oh, very cool.
And then we're going to debut it in October, where I'm going to do a speech on creativity and humanity, how it all ties together from my point of view.
Fantastic. And
introduce the song. And hopefully I'll have the choir and the orchestra playing it live. But if not, they'll hear it. So I'm doing some big stuff. I like to do big songs and that have a message and you can follow like a path,
Right.
I like to do that. I've got a few songs like that are really epic songs. And then I can write small songs too.
Yeah, and I think though that part of what drives the industry today is the 3-minute single, even more so than it was in the in the 70s.
Yeah.
And for me that's a real shame because a lot of my heroes started out writing these big, long, magnum opus, epic songs, where it was almost symphonic. There were so many movements and dynamics in the song. And then they got, these radio edit songs, and it seemed as they got popular, they left those other epic songs behind. So
they had to because radio just didn't follow. I mean, they followed for a while, and then they had to sell their time. They didn't want it to be music,
right,
taking up 3 minutes of time. They wanted it to be an ad,
right,
and sell a product.
Sure.
And then so if you had a 6-minute song, you really had to edit it down to a 3-minute song.
So they could still sell the ad.
And they could have the other 3 minutes to sell things.
Right.
So basically, it ruined everything.
Yeah. Now, when you say that
money grubbers always ruin everything. The bankers. I mean, I could go on and on, but I won't. But it's all controlled by the bankers, and they decide who's doing what.
Yeah.
What's valuable, what kind of value you put on it. It's pretty crazy out there, really.
Now, do you feel like you've reached a stage now where you're just doing art for art's sake? You don't feel beholden to anything.
Art's sake, yeah,
and that must be really liberating.
Well, it is, and I've been doing that for quite a while, really. I've just been fortunate along the way to, within that art form, whatever you want to call it, music. I've written some songs that got really popular.
Right.
That's all. I like that. If somebody likes something of mine, I have this new double CD captured album, which is all instrumental. It's all guitar playing. Some of it was just improv in my living room with a little $100 beatbox thing. You press a button, it plays a beat, and you play along with it. If you press it twice, it goes to a different rhythm.
Okay.
So
you got your drummer in a can.
An old retro thing that I found. And I just sat and played to it, jazz and blues mainly. And that's my record is like half of that.
Very cool.
Because I thought it was significant playing and a significant part of my body of work. I just wanted to offer it out there to fans. You know,
Very cool.
So they would hear something different than me playing rock and roll guitar.
Right, right.
And there's some rock and roll on the album also. So you get a real cross-section of guitar playing.
That sounds fantastic.
On that record, yeah. So if you ever get a chance to listen to it, let me know what you think.
Absolutely, we will definitely do that.
Okay.
We're gonna wrap this up so you can you can be on your way, because I heard it was quite a late night for you last night.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was very late. It was very, very late. And then I got up really early, you know, so.
Well, we'll wrap it up, but I just want to know two things.
Okay.
Number one, off the top of your head, what was the best experience you had playing?
The best experience.
Yeah, the one that you look back to and think, wow, man, I really made it, or this was really worth it.
It would have to be almost every night playing with the Rock and Roll Animal Band.
Really?
With Lou Reed, yeah. I mean, touring with them, it was fantastic. But then I look back on the heydays of the Frost.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that was an amazing rock and roll band. And we had some really great nights. We used to get 6, 7 standing ovations during the hour and a half we were playing.
Nice.
It was crazy. I mean, it was just a great time. With Alice, I mean, you asked me for one moment, but I can't.
Yeah, there are probably so many.
I just can't do it.
Yeah.
There's so many great moments that are in my memory.
Well, what a great testament to your life and career then, though, right? That you can't single out one moment, that there have been more than one.
I can't, but one that kind of sticks out is when I did this concert with the Saginaw Bay Orchestra, Remember the Child.
Okay.
That's one of my epic songs, and it's about child abuse. And I did this concert, and the orchestra, it's the first time I appeared in front of an orchestra, and they played 2.5 hours of my music.
Oh, wow.
My songs. You know, and it just, what a band.
Yeah.
When you got 58 pieces behind you.
Yeah.
That's a great band. Plus you've got your band, but you've got the whole orchestra behind that. That night was very special, very special.
Excellent. And then I guess to contrast that, is there anything that sticks out in your head as to, oh my goodness, I can't believe we did that?
Oh my goodness, I can't believe we did that.
I'm sure that list is probably equally as long.
And no, this interview doesn't count, by the way. I'm just...
Well, no. Yeah, that would probably be not necessarily playing music, but maybe after hours. I can't believe I did that. Yeah, there's been a few of those too, but it's been quite a life. I'm 71. I'm still playing. I'm still moving forward the best I can.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you here today.
Thank you, guys.
It was great to listen to you.
Thank you very much.
And speaking personally, it was great to be able to have you listen to something of mine. And
I enjoyed it too.
And be quite honest, I loved that. That was great.
Thank you.
So I really appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing you produce stuff for years to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys again.
I hope so.
Good.
I hope maybe we'll make it a regular thing.
Well, I want to come back to Windsor without a doubt, because the reception last night was just like the old days. It was just phenomenal. I loved it, so I want to come back. Maybe I'll even come back and play the Oasis again.
Yeah, and you know what's amazing is that Windsor used to be such a hotbed for big-name music artists, because they would play over in Detroit.
Right.
But they would come to Windsor, the night before or the night after.
Right.
And they would show up at these clubs, and nobody knew that they were coming, but they would just get up and jam with the house band. And it used to be, such a hotbed, and now it's kind of dried up. It's just sad.
Up?
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Live music here is really taking a beating. So that's part of what we're doing, is trying to promote, the local artists here and give them a voice, so that they're not drowned out by the sugar pop band. So
great. No, that's good. You're doing a good thing then.
Well, I appreciate it.
I'll see if I can get a booking back here again in Windsor, and I'd like to play Caesars.
Oh yeah.
That's where I want to be next year, playing Caesars.
It's a great venue too.
But I would come back and play the Oasis, because I love that setup. It's a great little club.
Yeah, and the Canada South Blues Society is a really great.
Yeah, they're great people.
Great bunch of people there.
Yep, absolutely.
They really
totally.
are. And I got my star on the wall. Now I
There you
I
go.
can walk in and probably get a free drink. All right, guys.
You heard it here first. A star on the wall will get you a free drink from the Canada Blues Society.
I'll see you guys later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A pleasure. We were talking with the man, the legend, Dick Wagner, who we just heard perform for a good solid set down here at Carparelli's. And we're going to turn things back over to the live stream now. It has been our absolute privilege to be able to interview him and to listen to him. And we look forward to doing it again at some point.